Hello, I'm your host, and welcome to my first video essay. We're going to talk about the effect of consumerism on the perception of environmentalism. Why do I think we need to discuss this issue? Well, because consumerism is everywhere, from YouTube ads, TV commercials, billboards, newspaper ads, magazine ads, fast food, fashion, music, movies, video games, the list adds on. As the society we live in is defined by consumerism. No matter what your opinion of it is, there is a hidden tragedy that comes in our consumerist culture, like the degradation of the environment. It is pretty observable that the number of items we consume does really bad things around us, and how we can prevent this from happening is education. You probably heard from grade 1 reduce, reuse, recycle, stop global warming, and the greenhouse effect. However, there are people out there that don't really believe in that. But why? Well, this video will answer that question and even give a possible solution to that problem. According to Szeman and Boyer, our culture is shaped by humanity's reliance on energy. To be modern is to be dependent on energy that creates our capacities and abilities that were generated by it. Without the use of energy, particularly fossil fuels, we would never have the capabilities and innovation provided by modernity. So, whenever we know it or not, we are subjects of fossil fuels. Szeman and Boyer calls this petro-culture. What we are going to be diving into is how the media gets influenced by the dominance of our fossil fuel dominated culture. Let's investigate an obvious example. This Fox News article discusses how the CEO from Chubb Insurance cut support to fossil fuel emitting companies to support green initiatives. NPR reported that the insurance company would not underwrite coal facilities and would put strict guidelines in the oil and gas industry, including the construction and operation of new coal fired plants. Consumers Research created an ad campaign accusing the CEO, Evan Greenberg, of being woke. Even though the article doesn't directly support the ad campaign, the fact that a notable conservative news outlet is giving voice to right-wing viewpoints of the CEO being woke can be an indirect support of petro-culture. Not only does the media get affected by this, but individuals too. An article by Tewksbury did research on a right-wing group called Yellow Vest Canada, analyzing their once active Facebook page and the community's online and offline effort. Tewksbury's research found that the politics around fossil fuels is firmly conservative because of the built set of hegemonic norms justified by nostalgia. He argues that a specific politics of memory, narrative, storytelling, and myth constructed an idealized past around what fossil fuels enabled in the past. The capitalistic liberal democratic modes of global materialism have been constructed by the chief supply of oil and gas. This is called petro-nostalgia. Why do these people deny or go against climate change? Ecker et al. Argues that misinformation is a driver of these false beliefs. People use peripheral cues such as familiarity and defaulting to one's own personal views. News headlines, for example, get higher beliefs if it complements the reader's worldview. People trust human sources if they perceive the source as attractive, powerful, and like themselves. Another key factor they point out is a person's personal and sociocultural identity. If a person receives corrections, it can be experienced as attacking one's identity, resulting in an emotional response. Yellow Vest Canada is an example of this. They felt that the green initiatives of the government were threatening their way of life, triggering an emotional response to protest against climate change, and deny its existence, believing that petroculture should be preserved. However, their defense of petroculture ignores the destructive effects of our energy-dependent world. The book The Anthropocene by UC Paprika discusses how humanity is at a stage of the obscene because of the extraction of raw materials, particularly coltan, an essential mineral to manufacture cell phones. This in turn made use of child labor to extract those raw materials. Paprika also discusses the physicality of the internet, as Brazil is subject to heavy surveillance to protect submarine cables, showing how governments, in the name of national security and interconnectedness, are willing to make the earth as military infrastructure. There are also the negative material effects petroculture has caused. Mainly due to consumerism, petroculture has made manufacturing of goods to be more efficient due to demand in our unsustainable lifestyles. Arecchia and Zopoli's research show that most environmental degradation can be traced by consumer behavior, either directly, like disposing garbage, cars, or indirectly, through production activities such as the satisfaction of material goods. So how can we make people change their minds on topics they reject? Ecker et al. Suggests multiple interventions: the fact-based correction, addressing logical fallacies, and undermining the plausibility of sources containing misinformation. However, I think there is a particular medium that can be used to apply all three of these interventions. Seeger et al. Had a solution to make information regarding climate change in an easy-to-understand way that ordinary people like you and me can easily digest. In their book, Communicating Climate Change, the chapter Communicating Within Immersion and Presence suggested using the medium of immersive media like VR, AR, and 360 video. Their research found that there were barriers that communicators faced when conveying issues of climate change: the lack of immediacy and direct experience, its complexity and uncertainty, and its unseen, intangible character. Media technologies are a possible way to get out of this dilemma. As media, do not confront the recipients with a story, but let them become part of the story. Film and video were connected to the realm of experience, as viewers are captivated by the medium. Time and space become blurred. And when it comes to immersive media like VR, it was suitable for persuasive communication due to the limited capability of the human consciousness. As quoted, the more a virtual environment binds a user's attention, the fewer opportunities there are for an unpleasant user experience. Their research pointed out that immersive storytelling satisfies three psychological aspects: experiencing skills, social integration, and autonomy. Well, if immersive media was found to be effective, why aren't more companies using it? Ho ho, dear viewer, they have addressed this problem. A survey was conducted among professionals from 16 organizations in Germany, distributed online through various newsletters. They found that a majority agree that there needs to be a new way of reaching consumers. Respondents stated that immersive storytelling would increase trust in the company and reduce complexity, yet their companies never use AR VR and the lack of competency with the technology. The survey also found that the technology wasn't feasible with the company's budget, limiting the ability of its implementation. So what now? How can we solve the problem that consumerism, fueled by petro-culture, has caused individuals denying climate change? Well, dear viewer, maybe you can be the one to change that. The research from Hell Seeker and his team proved that immersive media could work, but due to the lack of competency and budget constraints, couldn't. Maybe it's by convincing management, or creating your own company, that people may start seeing the realities climate change has caused. I certainly don't know the future, but I know that we as individuals have the power to change our communities for the betterment of our planet. This is your host. Thanks for watching.